Trinity Youth. Sorry for that awkward little thingy. I miss you all so much, and I really can't wait till we see each other in person again. But I hope that at least with these video messages, you all are getting a little something from me, and you don't feel like I'm just completely out of the picture. So I look forward to seeing you again soon. Hopefully, maybe in a few more weeks, we'll be able to meet in person again, but let's get into it. All right, so stop me. Haha. If you've heard these ones before, that's not fair. Well, why do they get to do that? Why don't I get to insert something? I can't believe that they got insert something. Are any of these familiar to you? Are you maybe starting to notice that those that you're seeing a whole lot more than regular, are you starting to notice they do certain things that annoy you, like a lot, but you never noticed them before? Well, I hope not, but unfortunately we tend to be more critical of those that we see most often, and some of us have only seen the same people for a few weeks now, all right? I understand, I get it, show them a little grace. I want to encourage you all to stop worrying about other people and to start worrying about other people. And no, that wasn't some kind of video glitch. I want you all to stop worrying about other people and start worrying about other people, all right? Before you start typing all of your comments, hey, that doesn't make any sense, just follow me for a little bit, okay? We're going to start off in the book of Matthew, chapter 20, the first 16 verses. I'll give you a second or two to power on or turn there. This is Jesus talking, by the way, so double listen. For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire workers for his vineyard. He agreed to pay them a denarius for the day and sent them into his vineyard. About 9 in the morning he went out and saw others standing in the marketplace doing nothing. He told them, "You also go and work in my vineyard, and I will pay you whatever is right." So they went. He went again at about noon. About 3 in the afternoon, he did the same thing. About 5 in the afternoon, he went and found others still standing around. He asked them, "Why have you been standing here all day long doing nothing?" "Because no one has hired us," they answered. He said to them, "You also go and work in my vineyard." When evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to the foreman, "Call the workers and pay them their wages, beginning with the last ones hired and going to the first." The workers who were hired about 5 in the afternoon came and each received a denarius. So when those who were hired first, they expected to receive more, but each one of them also received a denarius. When they received it, they began to grumble against the landowner. "Those who were hired last worked only for 1 hour," they said, "and you have made them equal to us, who have borne the burden of work and the heat of the day." But he answered one of them, "I am not being unfair to you, friend. Didn't you agree to work for a denarius? Take your pay and go. I want to give the one who was hired last the same that I gave you. Don't I have the right to do what I want with my own money? Or are you envious because I am generous? So the last will be first, and the first will be last." All right, so a denarius, if you're unaware, that was basically a normal day's pay, just a 1 day's worker's wage, right? Now, of course, they lived in a more agricultural time period, so that denarius was the equivalent of, oh, here's the things I grow in my garden, here's the money that it takes to feed my family for 1 day. 1 day's work, 1 day's pay, 1 day's food, right? So if we look at this story from our typical societal standpoint, it seems as if some men are getting paid a day's wage for a day's work, fair, and some are getting paid a day's wage for less than a day's work, which to us seems unfair, but keep this in mind. Their society was agrarian, it was farm-based. So they didn't have sick days, they didn't have vacation days, they didn't really have what we think of as savings accounts, they didn't have cans of food, they didn't have ramen noodles, which I still love, by the way. They didn't have all of these things that lasted forever. In an agrarian society, everything is seasonal. That food that you brought in goes bad if you don't eat it, so you better eat it or process it, right? Our idea, especially in the United States, of poverty is warped. There are people in this country who are considered poor, who have cell phones, cars, and homes. I am in no way, shape, or form trying to say that those people can afford everything that they need, but I'm just trying to get you to wrap your heads around this idea that in the ancient world, poverty was much worse than it is in first world United States today. Poverty in the ancient world was more akin to, boy, I hope I get to eat one single meal this week, instead of, man, I don't know if I'll be able to pay my cell phone bill this month, right? You follow me a little bit? All right. So, and this is a parable, so it's a story. It's not necessarily something that happened. It's a story with a message, and Jesus told this. So, this foreman who's giving to the late coming workers, it was an act of kindness. It was a way to pay them, and it fed those men and very likely their families from starving for a full day, right? The initial workers received exactly the money that they agreed to take for exactly the work that they agreed to do. They need to stop worrying about other people. The amount given in the the amount that the landowner gave to the latecomers in no way, shape, or form changed their agreement or their well-being. It's telling, when we bring it back to our own perspective, we only seem to care about fairness when someone else receives a blessing, saying, I wish I could have got that. I should have got that. I deserve that, right? That's how we secretly think, but we don't want to tell anybody that because we want to seem like nice people. Do we wish for fairness when someone receives devastation? Do you wish, do you say, that's not fair, my dog should die too because my best friend's dog died? No, we don't think that at all. Have you ever said, well, it's not fair that your parent lost their job, I wish mine would lose their job too, so it'd be fair? No, that's absolutely silly. We wouldn't even think those things because we really don't want fairness, we just all want the blessings. All right, follow me over to the book of John, chapter 21, and we're going to jump back and forth, but we're going to start at the 18th verse. We're going to do 18 and 19. All right, this is Jesus speaking to Peter. Jesus has just reinstated Peter by telling him to feed his sheep 3 times, nullifying his threefold denial of Jesus. So, chapter 18. Very truly I tell you, when you were younger, you dressed yourself and went where you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go. Jesus said this to indicate the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. Then he said to him, follow me. So, what did Jesus just do? He used very pretty, very poetic words to tell Peter, hey, guess what? You're going to die for the cause of the kingdom of God. Now, that's not the greatest news, but it can be inspiring if you're in the right mindset, right? Well, what was Peter's reaction? We'll go right back to it. Verse 20. Peter turned and saw the disciple whom Jesus loved was following them. This is the one who had leaned back against Jesus at the supper and had said, Lord, who is going to betray you? When Peter saw him, he asked, Lord, what about him? So immediately upon receiving this, hey, you're going to die for my cause, Peter says, what about him? Now, we don't know his tone of voice. We don't know how he asked the question. We just know these words were recorded. I'm not going to say that he was whining and complaining because I don't know that. But we do know how Jesus responded. Verse 22. Jesus answered, if I want him to remain alive until I return, what is that to you? You must follow me. So what did Jesus tell him? He said, don't worry about him. Don't worry about his blessings. Don't worry about his curses. You follow me and I'll take care of the rest, right? We need to listen to this story and we need to see that we don't need to worry about other people. By contrast, we need to worry about other people. Are you following me yet? All right. Let me tell you a little personal story. Over the last weekend, my family and I gathered wildflowers for jelly. I know, sounds crazy. If you want to know about it, ask my wife. But we gathered dandelions and wild violets, okay? these, we didn't grow them in a garden. They weren't all in one place. Is throughout the whole yard, you go out and you pick them. And in order to make any amount of jelly, you got to have a whole lot of them, right? So it took a total of like 2 or 3 hours to collect all the flowers. The kids got bored, needless to say. Maybe about an hour into it, I'd say, and really stopped being helpful at all, which wasn't a surprise, but just a fact of life. And we had gathered all of one kind of flower and a little less than half of the other kind when the kids got bored. Now, again, I told you this was my wife's idea. She started this whole thing. Let me translate that out of husband into what you can understand what I'm trying to say. I would not have done this job without someone else wanting it done, okay? I'm not upset, I'm not mad, but this was not Pastor Mitch's idea, okay? So my wife takes the kids in to do lunch, but I knew that she wanted these flowers, and I knew exactly how much she wanted to do what she was hoping to get accomplished. So when she took the kids in to get lunch, I decided I'd stay out and finish picking the flowers. And they were the little bitty ones. They're wild violets. They're tiny, itty bitty. They're purple. You've probably seen them in your yard unless your dad goes hardcore against the weeds. They do taste nice, though. But what I wanted to tell you in this whole story is I spent extra time on my own after everyone else went inside to do this job that, quite frankly, I didn't care about. Wasn't my idea. I may or may not get any of the jelly. I didn't care about the job. What I did care about is that my wife wanted the job done. She didn't ask me to do this. She didn't nag me into it. She would have done it herself if I didn't. But I thought, here I am, already outside, already bent over, already found some patches where the flowers are. I'm just going to keep collecting. So again, kids got useless after an hour. This whole project took probably 3 hours total outside time. You're starting to do the math yourself. I was out there for quite a while by myself doing this job I didn't care about, right? Because I was worried about another person, okay? I was worried about what she wanted and how I could help her instead of, holy cow, I am bored. I am picking flowers. I am sitting in the grass, finding a flower, picking the flower, finding another flower, picking another flower. 2 hours later, finding another flower, picking a flower. Okay, you get it. You're starting to get bored. I'm glad because you're feeling how I was feeling. When I was thinking about my wife and thinking about, I'm going to do this for her and she's going to be so happy that this gets done, it's like I found flowers all over the place. The jar was just filling. When I was thinking, holy cow, I am bored. I don't want to do this. I'm tired of it. It's getting a little hot. My blood's sweat because I'm sitting in the grass. It was like I couldn't find any flowers. I think the jar just developed a hole in the bottom and they were falling out, right? So, what am I getting at? I've told this big, long-winded story. When I was thinking about someone else and working for someone else, I felt good. The work moved. When I was thinking about me, it went slow. It was boring. I knew it was boring and I thought about it being boring. Let's jump over, still in the book of John, chapter 13, verse 34. Jesus talking again. A new command I give you. Love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. Now, let me preface this. I fully realize that picking wildflowers for my wife is not anything like coming, living a sinless life, dying on a cross, and unwarranted death. Okay? I just wanted to give you a concrete, easy example. But I do ask that you all think of others. And it's not because I want you to do it. It's because right here, Jesus commands us to do it. So do me a favor. Stop worrying about other people and start worrying about other people. All right, guys. Catch you later. Hope this one wasn't too long-winded. Hit me up, text me, send me email, whatever. If you've got praises, prayer requests, whatever, let me know how I can help. See you all next time.